Be me, teaching a middle school language arts class. End of the year project is a presentation on your favorite narrative work. Notice my most autistic student is more excited than usual. He submits his proposal, a sculpture, written review, and PowerPoint presentation of the game Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. The kid has been having a rough term, and this is the first thing he has had spark his interest. Knowing what me and the other 44 students in my class may be getting into, I allow his proposal. It's been a rough year, and I want to be entertained as we close things up. So it begins! His sculpture starts first, asks me for quick dry clay, acrylic paint, and misc supplies that don't seem outlandishly odd. I supply all. For some reason, his autism has been channeled like never before, and he spends a week sculpting. He restarts 3 times and works through each class in recess. Holy fuck, son, relax. Won't let me see the sculpture and takes it home with him each night. A little weird, but whatever. Notice that his friends have stopped hanging out with him. Figure it's just due to his hyper-autism and think nothing of it. On to week 2. Written review time. In our classroom, students have 2 main ways to show their writing, traditionally via pencil and paper, or digitally via word processing on their tablets. Student starts working for the first time on Google Docs via the tablet, and had never touched it before now. Tries to start his review by using the touch keyboard, but quickly gets frustrated. Makes sense, touch keyboards are trash. I recommend he tries out the voice to text feature. Tries that out too, but spurgs out on his classmates for making too much noise and fucking up his speech recognition. Calm down, son. Grab a Bluetooth keyboard and pass it to him. This is the golden ticket, and he spends the next 4 days typing non-stop in a display of textbook hyperfocus. By this point, he hadn't hung out with his usual friends for 4 school days. Something is up. By the end of week 2, he asks me what the minimum length is for his written review. I tell him as long as he feels necessary, but to keep things tight. He seems confused by this, which is weird to me since he hadn't put in any effort all year. What's the big deal? Anon, do you know how to check the word count? No. Tell him how and to report back when he's at to gauge his progress. He does and asks if 6,561 words is too long for a written review. What the fuck, .jpg? Anon, how the hell did you manage to write a college essay's worth of text on Five Nights at Freddy's? I just did what Roxy told me. By this point I realized I'd fucked up and that he had gone full retard. However, I mark based off content and learning outcome, not class. The kid desperately needs a grade boost to bump up his end year marks, and I don't have the heart or fucks left to give to coach him out of whatever abyss he's dove into. Who is Roxy? She's a character from the game and one of my best friends. Anon, how can she be your friend if she's a video game character? He shrugs and either doesn't or pretends not to hear me. Our review is more of an interview. I ask Roxy about Freddy and she tells me about what she feels. I put a lot of work into it, Mr. OP. You'll love it. Our review. What the fuck? By this point I am morbidly curious and ask to read it, and he lets me read the first day. Apparently he had broken the interview up over the week, and each day in class marked one session with Roxy. Roxy's dialogue is spoken from her perspective and Anon's is spoken from his. He went full schizo and had been talking to himself for over a week, which is why his friends had drifted away. Oh no. Doing the best I can, I just finished report cards for the year and I'm trying to burn this memory as quickly as possible. By this point I realised he had gone too far. I'm a firm believer in natural consequences and also willing to support my students on their interests as long as they're safe. Since Anon wasn't hurting himself and the first day of his interview review seemed relatively tame, I cautiously let him go ahead with things. There are 44 other kids in our classroom and none of them had poured anywhere near the love or passion that Anon was putting into his Five Nights at Freddy's presentation, and I did not want him to lose enthusiasm. Anon, I'll be honest, this seems a bit out there and I've only read the start. Are you sure you can present this in front of the class? We're positive, Mr. OP. Jesus Christ. Week 3, begins to work on his PowerPoint presentation, using Google Slides as his base but incorporating video links and images where he can. Being OP, I am a huge and have been checking his tablet history when he goes home every day to make sure he's not making poor life choices. His search history leads almost entirely to the Five Nights at Freddy's wiki. He has compiled in autistic detail the entire FNAF canonverse over 57 slides, each with minute details relating to the plot and character development. Holy fuck, this is actually good. A little lengthy, But this truly is the power of autism. Well done, Anon. The interview is a bit weird, but this saves the entire presentation. He's going to blow the fuck out of the entire class. But what about the sculpture? Presentation day. Mr. OP, can I go first? I don't know, Anon. Are you sure? Absolutely. We're ready. Fuck it. Settle down the class and call upon Anon to start off our narrative presentations. Anon brings a shoebox with him that presumably holds his sculpture, about 15 pages of paper stapled together, and his tablet. He starts off with an introduction of his narrative, and somebody yells out furry, and he blasts back that they're not furries, they're animatronics. I tell the interrupting jackass to leave and encourage Anon to continue and need to see this happen. He calms down and opens up his shoebox to kickstart what was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my time as a teacher. It's a mask, but half the face is Roxy and the other half his own, but crudely modelled in quick-dried clay and acrylics. Oh my god. He starts to read the interview and turns his head so his mask shows the character who is currently speaking. Complete with different voices, including his own, he parodied his own voice. What in the ever-loving fuck? I let this go on for 5 minutes. The class seems morbidly intrigued, but no one has said shit and the vibe isn't too weird. Anon, I have to interrupt you and remind you that we have a time frame. Is it okay if we move on to your PowerPoint? Fine, Mr. OP, but we'll show you the rest later. Kill me. This takes time, you fuckers. We're almost done. Next post should be the last. Anon screen shares his tablet and begins his PowerPoint. I settle in knowing the bomb he's about to drop and shit all over the presentations to come. Anon begins his PowerPoint and spends the next 7 minutes clearly articulating the who, what, where, when, why, and how of his narrative choice and the characters it involves. It's like a younger, more autistic David Attenborough talking about animatronics instead of exotic birds. The normal A students sink in their chairs and nervously start writing on their posters. Anon just fucked the bell curve and they know it. Go for it, lad. He finishes what is currently the best presentation I've seen from a kid between grades 5 to 12. Surpasses all expectations. Gets to his final slide and it's a hand-drawn picture of himself and Roxy waving at the class from the screen, thanking them for listening. For the first time that year, Anon is beaming with legitimate success and I'm so proud of him. As is tradition, we end each presentation with a few positive comments from his class. Every single hand goes up and I let him get through 5 people before I have to move on. No one compliments the mask. I am now downloading the security bridge to see what all the fuss is about. And that is the story of how Anon managed to pass his 2022 LA class with Roxy the Wolf.